What's going on, gang? Today we're going to talk about the idea of autosuggestion as presented by Napoleon Hill in his book Think and Grow Rich, and Emil Quay, I don't know how to say his name, in the book Self-Mastery Through Autosuggestion. Napoleon Hill is a writer who was far ahead of his time as far as the potentialities of the mind, and Emil Quay was a doctor who found out pretty much that autosuggestion is the cause of most of our problems as humans is in sickness. He was an actual doctor, an actual scientist. He was the one who invented every day in every way I'm getting better and better. If you've ever heard that, then you've heard his work. So getting started, we're starting with Napoleon Hill's. These are my notes on what he has put together. So autosuggestion is a conscious communicating with itself. The subconscious hears it. It's either positive or negative thoughts that will dominate the mind based on the thoughts that you hold or you design. His formula is a definite desire of money, what you will give in return, because there's no such reality as something for nothing. Definite date for its attainment, definite plans, action, clear, concise statement, read aloud twice daily. Feel and believe yourself in possession of the money. Must mix emotion with your words, as the subconscious only picks up thoughts mixed with heavy emotion. You must be able to concentrate on a given desire until it becomes a burning desire. The subconscious mind takes any orders given in a spirit of absolute faith. The orders often have to be repeated. You have to make your subconscious believe that it must provide you your desires through practical plans. It will only give you practical plans. It won't just do shit for you. This is where I made a mistake earlier in my life. Give the impulse to your subconscious, make it feel and believe you. Then when it gives you plans, begin immediately to put those plans into action. Man is the ruler of his life simply because he can influence his own subconscious mind. So that's pretty much what the act of autosuggestion is to Napoleon Hill, is your ability to talk to yourself, the conscious, to talk to the subconscious and influence it to give you what you desire as far as plans. Now, one thing that I really think is interesting to add on to this is that if you think bad shit all the time, I'm pretty damn sure that subconscious mind is going to feed you more bad shit. You know, the more bad shit that you feed yourself and talk to yourself, it's always listening, it's always hearing. I'm going to make another video on the subconscious mind, but right now we're talking about autosuggestion. So if you're autosuggesting, this is how to do it right. You know, autosuggest what you want, mixed with heavy emotion. But we can only assume that if you auto-suggest what you don't want and you talk to yourself in a way about things that you don't want, or that you're not good enough, or that you're bad, or that you can't do this, or you can't do that, that is what your subconscious is going to hear, and that's what it's going to act upon. I'm going to give one more thing from Napoleon Hill's book before we move on. This is something that I put together based on just the connections that I could find. It seems to actively, completely control the subconscious mind through autosuggestion is to know what you want, be definite, recognize that you have a subconscious mind that is extremely impressionable, is always on, and reacts to all stimuli and thought impulse, mainly exclusively those impressed with feeling and emotion. Consistently feed the subconscious mind thought impulses imbued with feeling. Those best are plans, perspective, goals, purposes, desires, what you want, even narratives. Recognize the subconscious mind won't do it for you. The best it can do and will do is transmute your emotional thought impulses to infinite intelligence, which then gives back to you ideas and plans through your imagination to help you achieve your desires, and then get to work putting those plans into action immediately and continuously. Before we go into the notes I took on self-mastery through autosuggestion, I just want to take a moment here to really think about this interesting thought that, man, so many times, like, something will happen and I'll just talk to myself in a way of like, man, I'm bad for this. Probably because growing up I was always told that I'm bad and that everything I did is wrong and everything I wanted is wrong and I'm always in trouble. But it's like, I want to take a more active stance as far as telling myself, like, in a good way, like, hey, we just learned a lesson, we're learning, you know, we're becoming better, we're becoming stronger, let's go ahead and implement this to our next thing, as opposed to sitting there and beating myself up. Because autosuggestion, as we can tell, is the means of talking to yourself, talking to your subconscious. Now, we all do this on a daily basis without even knowing. At that's actually what Emile Quo talks about, is like, this is a tool or a weapon that we're given since birth, that we're always using for ourselves or against ourselves, and it can either lift us up to great heights or take us down to lowest lows. Let's go ahead and get into his excerpt. He says, mind is master. There's two minds, conscious and subconscious. So that's obviously something that they both agree on. A person gets hold of an idea, holds it before his imagination until it possesses his subjective mind, and then it transforms him. Then constantly gives the thought to others until they are transformed, and eventually the idea of one man becomes the dominating force of a nation. So that's how ideas are spread, like that, just like that. We're all changed into the image of that which is held before the eyes of our imagination. Imagination, and then in front of your unconscious mind, is what holds the transformation. Speak to yourself in a way that engenders belief. A plank on solid ground is the easiest thing to walk across. But that same plank placed across two buildings, and now it's impossible. Why? Because of belief, faith, and your imagination. If you forgot something and you think I have forgotten, then it leaves. But if you think it'll come back to me, moments later it returns. I've had that happen to me multiple times, where it's like I feel like I lost something, and it's like, oh no, I'm about to find it, and then I find it. You know, same thing with thoughts and shit. If you say I want to but I can't, now you can't. Imagination carries away the will. An officer leads his men into battle, they fight with confidence. An officer runs away in fear and they flee. In the first example, men imagine they must march forward in confidence. In the second example, men imagine that they must run away in fear. I desire to do or to have this. Okay, this is his formula. I desire to do or to have this such and such thing, and I'm about to do or have it. Okay, the imagination controls the will. You may suggest something to someone. If the unconscious of the latter does not accept it, if he does not digest it and transform it into autosuggestion, then no effect is produced. Which I find that very interesting, because everywhere I go, motherfuckers are always judging, always got something to say, which I find interesting. And it's like, I'm able to talk to myself now after knowing this knowledge and be like talk to my subconscious, like, don't accept any of their bullshit. Don't accept any of their suggestions, you know, what they want to say about me. Like, don't accept that shit. Like, I know who I am. Don't accept their shit. Okay, autosuggestion is used as such. Here's his formula. Decide on the object of your autosuggestion and decide whether the matter requires affirmation or negation. Then repeat several times without thinking of anything else. This comes or this goes. This is going to happen or that is not going to happen. If the unconscious accepts the idea, if it autosuggests, you will find the idea is realized in every detail. Okay, autosuggestion is also known as hypnotism. Influence of the imagination on the moral and physical being of man. One more time, autosuggestion is also known as hypnotism. Influence of the imagination on the moral and physical being of man. We are doing this all the time. Okay, we have to know that we're doing this all the time. And the more aware of it that we become, the more that we're going to use it to our benefit. You know, instead of letting our mind run away with us and tell us what we can and can't do based on shit that we've heard or that we think, we're going to be able to tell ourselves what we can do. So if you induce yourself to believe a certain thing, provided it conforms to the law of nature, and that's a big deal. Like, it has to conform to the law of nature. We're not just telling ourselves we can fucking fly, you know, like, it has to conform to the law of nature. You're going to do it no matter how difficult, if you can induce yourself to believe it. If on the contrary you imagine you'll find it impossible to achieve it, then you can't do it. The sick, paralyzed imagine themselves to be so. Happy, unhappy, neurosis, stammering, fear of water, paralysis. All examples of the unconscious on the physical, mental, or moral being. Autosuggestion ideas exist within us unrecognized until effects are produced. Not by the will of the force, but by influencing imagination. The unconscious controls all. Mind controls body, higher, lower. Simply cause the unconscious to believe, and it's done on you. A bad suggestion may be forced out with the good when repeated over and over, when the good one is repeated over and over. Because he went and changed a bunch of people's lives by just getting them to believe a different belief. Essentially autosuggestion is changing your beliefs. So it is impossible to think of two thoughts at the same time. Every thought that completely fills our mind becomes true for us and has a tendency to transform itself into action. Commanding tone that permits no disobedience. These are some quotes. Imagination is superior to the will. They must go together. I will and I can, otherwise the imagination always wins. Develop the habit of expressing yourself promptly, clearly, simply, and with calm determination. Speak briefly, but distinctly. Use no unnecessary words. The conscious self directs everything, both the physical and moral. It presides over the functions of all the organs down to the infinite small cells of our system through the intermediary of the nerves. Do not spend time trying to find problems you may possibly have. If you have no real ones, you are sure to create an artificial one. And that's pretty much it for the notes. Now I'm finna just go up off the top. I have noticed in my life multiple people, just going through shit where it's like, I've seen a lady who was going through some shit, and like it's obvious that she's doing it to herself. I don't know if you've seen people around you who like are obviously going through shit, like they're gaining weight, their life sucks, they hate themselves, they've got addictions, they're drinking a bunch of alcohol. I'm thinking of someone in particular, and it's like that the thoughts that they're thinking are nothing good. Like you just know that the thoughts are nothing good. That's pretty much what Emile Quo says, is like all of our problems, most of our problems are brought on to us, about us, by simply just our thinking, by the way that we're thinking and auto-suggesting to ourselves all the time. And I find it extremely interesting. I find it interesting and true because, like I said, it doesn't mean it's easy, because you have to have a very high level of metacognition to be able to understand even what you're fucking thinking. But if you can get around to understanding what am I thinking about myself, then I think that you have a really good shot of being able to get out the bad thoughts and get in the good ones. And with that being said, I hope that this increases your metacognition towards your auto-suggestion abilities, and I'll catch you in the next one, dog. Peace.